everyone, this is Cindy from Stamped with Aloha and welcome to part 1 of my Aloha Card Club. In this first video, I'm going to teach you how to create 4 alternate cards using the Garden of Thanks kit by Stampin' Up. So let's go ahead and get started. So let's begin by looking at the card bases that come in the Garden of Thanks kit. As you can see, the great thing about these is that they are double-sided. So this gives us a lot of real estate when we want to create alternative projects. So what I've done for all 4 of the cards in this class is I have used a white card base. So I've added a basic white piece of cardstock and cut it in half to create a white card base. And then I've taken these 3 cards and I have cut them down into different dimensions to create 4 alternate cards. So the first card that we're going to do is actually going to be a pocket card. So you can see the white card base here and how I cut up the card base to create pieces that I can layer on top of the white card base. Okay, so let's go ahead and jump right into card number 1. For card number 1, we need a 4 1/4 by 11 piece of basic white cardstock. Now I've scored this at 1.5 inches and then 5.5 inches. So I'm going to go ahead and fold this on the score line and just crease it with my bone folder. Okay, because this is a pocket, I'm going to open this up and then get some multi-purpose liquid glue. You could also use tear and tape, but I prefer the liquid glue. I'm going to put a little layer of liquid glue there, and then I'm just going to press it down and hold it. And this is going to form the pocket for our gift card. Okay, all right. For our next step, I have a piece of the blue card base that I've cut into 2 sections. These were cut at 4 1/4 by 2 3/4. You'll see that there's a border on the left side here, and there's a border on the right side here where there's no pattern. And in the middle here, there's pattern, right? So where there's the border on the right side, that's gonna get glued to the right side of the card. And where there's the border on the left side, that's gonna get glued down to the center of the card. So I'm gonna go ahead and attach those 2 pieces to my project. Next, I have a 1 inch by 4 1/4 inch of the floral card base, and I'm going to glue this piece onto the pocket so that it'll draw attention to where our gift card pocket is. All right, for the next step, you're going to punch out these 2 pieces from the kit. We have this floral piece and then also the circle. The circle we're going to be stamping on with the thank you image from the stamp set, and then the flowers here we're going to attach to the front with the mini dimensionals that came in the kit. Now, when we attach this to the front of the card, I'm going to attach it so that the large pink flower is on the left and the bottom. So it's going to go like this, and it's going to overlap this edge a little bit. So it's going to be important where we put our dimensionals. So whenever we're going over an edge like this, I always like to mark that area, use my mini dimensionals right here where I know that that our image is going to go. So now that I have these dimensionals here, I can be guaranteed that when I glue this down, I won't have adhesive in the wrong spot. So to finish this up, I'm just going to flip this over and add a couple dimensionals over here. And next we are going to do our stamping. And so for the stamping, we're going to add this tag on here, and it's going to go right there on the bottom. So I'm going to get out my cushion and the little Misty Moonlight spot, and then I'm going to stamp this with the words thank you. And stamp this. For this, I'm just going to put a little bit of adhesive on the side of the circle, and then I'm going to slide that underneath the flowers so that you can still read the sentiment, but so that it hangs over the edge of the card, just like that. So making sure that I don't get adhesive right there, we just put it in the corner. All right, next let's get out those sequins, and we are going to add a large sequence up here, followed by a small sequin embellishment right here. And then we are going to put one more small sequin embellishment right on that tag with the thank you. And our first alternative card is done. So super simple. This is a beautiful kit to work with. And so let's move on and do card number 2. So for card number 2, this is a thank you card. We have another white card base, and this is again 4 1/4 by 11 inches. And then from the kit, you're going to need this large flower punch out, the banner, the freesia colored banner. You punch out the words thank you, and remember we chopped up that blue card base, so we don't want to let a scrap like this go to waste. So we're going to take this blue piece from the card base, and we are going to use this one as well. Okay, so I want to make sure that my card has been scored at 5.5 inches, and I want to make sure it's going in the right direction. And another thing I want to point out is you'll see that this thank you is a punch out sentiment. So what's cool about this Garden of Thanks kit is that you have the option to stamp the words thank you, or you also have a thank you that you can punch out and use as well. So I love that there's multiple options. Okay, so for this, we're going to start with this blue strip, and we are going to put adhesive on the back, and we are going to glue this strip on the front of our card. Again, you'll see that there's a border here. I'm going to put the border on the edge, and then where the pattern is, I'm going to keep that to the middle. Okay, next we are going to take our flowers, and I'm going to place dimensionals on the back. Oh, I can see that this little part needs to get punched out. And so let's add our dimensionals. Okay, and then when we glue this onto the front of the card, I'm going to just glue it so that it starts around the center of this blue strip, and then we're going to just have it so that it goes slightly over to the right side and kind of goes into that white area. For our next step, we are going to take the words thank you, I'm going to turn it over, I'm going to add a little bit of adhesive to the back of this, and then I'm going to mount the thank you onto the banner. And we're going to turn this over, and we're going to add dimensionals to this. Now, this is going to be going over the stem of the card, so I want to make sure that I don't put a dimensional right here or it'll be off-centered. So I'm going to put a dimensional all the way on the end, and then in the middle, and then on this end. All right, so that is done, and now let's just add our sequence and we'll be done with project number 2. So I'm going to take a large one and place it here, small one and place it at an angle right there, and then one more large one, and we're going to place this one right up here near the flower and the petal, right in between there. So like a triangle pattern. All right, so here is card number 2. All right, let's move on to our next project. All right, we're moving on to card number 3. So for card number 3, we need these pieces. Again, we have a white card base, folded in half, and then we've taken the white and gold card base and we have just cropped it down so that we've made it to be a 5 by 3 3/4 piece. And then we're gonna take the large flower that comes in this kit, and what I've done is I've divided it into 2 pieces by just placing it on the paper cutter and cutting it right around the edge of the largest pink flower. And so that kind of divided the largest pink flower from the this fuchsia color flower. Okay, you're gonna need this tag, and then out of the punch out sheet, you're gonna very delicately punch out one of these fresh freesia pieces here, okay? I'm gonna put the rest of that away. And then what we're gonna do is we're gonna cut this. So at the bottom, you've got 2 branches going to the right, 1 to the left. And so right in between those 3, I'm gonna trim that. And so I'm gonna split that into 2 different pieces. Where that one that I cut off is, I'm just gonna come in here. Not sure if this is gonna show, but I'm just gonna trim that off so that it looks like there was never a stem there. And then we can use this one just as it is. Okay, so I'm gonna put that to the side for right now. But that is all the pieces that you need for this card. The sentiment for this card is gonna be the one that says, I appreciate you so much. So it's the longer sentiment that comes in the stamp set. Now, the entire focal point of this card is going to be built onto a layer. So I'm going to remove the white piece for now, and we're going to work with this gold and white piece to build our focal point. All right, so these pieces that I've cut are going to get attached to the card, and one is going to get attached over here on the side of the card, and the other one is going to get attached upside down and on the side of the card. And it's okay if the leaves go over the edge just a tiny little bit. Now, the tricky thing about this is that these embellishments are going to get tucked underneath. So I'm going to position them in here, and then this one up here is going to get tucked underneath here like that. Okay, so the easiest way for me to position this is once I have it laid out, I'm going to take these pieces, I'm going to go ahead and glue these little accent pieces first. So I'm just going to put a tiny little bit of glue on the back here. And then I'm going to take this and I'm going to tuck it underneath where I want it to go. Okay, and then on this side, take this out, add my liquid glue. It's a tiny, tiny little bit. And then I'm going to place this underneath here and then stick it down. Okay, now that I have those pieces in place, I can take and lift this up and glue it down. Isn't that pretty? Okay, now we just need to add our sentiment. So I'm going to get out my mat, my ink pad, and the sentiment here. It says, I appreciate you so much. And then I'm going to stamp it. All right, so we're going to turn that around and add some mini dimensionals. And then we're going to place this in between those two sections a little bit off to the right. Okay, for our sequence, we're going to put a large one here, followed by a small one at an angle, and then a large one over here. Okay, so this is our focal point and the finished card front. So then what we'll do is just take out our card base. This time we're going to turn it this direction, turn this around, and we'll add our mini dimensionals. And then let's stick it down. Okay, isn't that beautiful? So this is alternate project number 3 with the Garden of Thanks kit. Okay, we have one more project to go in this series, and for this, I'm going to do something a little bit different. I just celebrated my 25th anniversary with Stampin' Up, and during this month, I've been revisiting lots of memories and thinking about the past 25 years, and I pulled out what is, I consider to be my favorite stamp set of all time, and that is this set here called Do the Hula. And so for this next project, I'm actually going to bring back my favorite stamp, which is this Hula Girl stamp. And we're going to use her as a focal point on this card. But don't worry, if you don't have Do the Hula, I'm going to show you another option that you can use with another stamp set. All right, so let's go ahead and do our final card. So for our final card, you are going to see that I used another white card base, 4 1/4 by 11 inches, folded in half. And then I have 2 pieces that I cut from the floral card. So, so we were able to do all these alternative projects by just cutting up 1 blue card, 1 white card, and now 1 floral card. So I have these two pieces do not come in your kit, but it's a piece of Blackberry Bliss and a piece of basic white that I cut into a rectangle. That this is where I'm going to have my focal point, my Hula Girl stamped. So this can be adjusted based on whatever stamp you're going to put on the front of your card. And then you'll need this tag, because for this, I'm going to be creating an appreciation card. So we're going to stamp it with that same image that we used on the last project. Okay, so to begin, we are going to start by turning this card so that it's going to open to the right like this. And then we're going to take these two pieces. You have a larger one and a smaller one. So these are both 5.5 inches, but the smaller one is 1.5 inches wide and the larger one is 2 inches wide. So there's just a 1/2 inch difference between them. Okay, then I'm going to take and turn this over and add adhesive to the 1.5 by 5.5 piece, and I'm going to glue that up at the top. And then I'm going to take, so you can see I'm matching it up like that, but you don't have to do that. Either way, you could do it this way as well. Either way, it's going to look beautiful. So I'm going to take and add adhesive to the back, and I'm going to glue to the bottom. Okay. Super simple, right? Okay, next we're going to do our stamping. So I'm going to move that to the side and get out my base. With the Misty Moonlight ink, I'm going to stamp those same appreciation words. I appreciate you so much. Okay, and then at this point here is where we're going to stamp our focal point. So I'm going to use my Memento ink. I'm going to ink up my Hula Girl and stamp her right there in the middle. Next, I'm going to add some coloring with my Stampin' Blends. All right, so our focal point has been colored. Isn't she beautiful? And then I'm going to turn it around, add some adhesive to the back. We are going to mount this to our Blackberry Bliss cardstock. Okay, turn this around. And if you signed up to take this class with me, then you will receive a kit with everything all cut, all scored, everything ready for you to assemble. And you'll also get a PDF with all the measurements so that you can recreate these projects. Okay, we're gonna take and peel off the backing. And we're gonna place our focal point right here on the left side. And then for the sentiment here, we're just gonna add glue to the back of it. And we'll just put this and center it on this side of the card. Okay, and just like the other cards, we're gonna finish this up by adding 3 sequins. We're gonna do our angle right here to the left of her head, 2, and then we're going to place a small one down here by her feet. And that completes our final alternate project. Now, I mentioned that if you don't have the Hula Girl, what could you use? So I looked through my collection, and if I were gonna change this up, the stamp set Everyday Details has a stamp that's about that same dimension as the Hula Girl, and is also floral and pretty. So I went ahead and I used the exact same colors that I used to color her, which is the Wild Wheat and the Heather and the Blackberry Bliss, and the I think the green is the light Old Olive. And so if you want to stick with the floral theme, you could do this as well. So that's just another option for you. I'm sure there's many others. You could put a butterfly, and again, you could change this dimension to fit whatever focal point you want to put on this card. But this, using these pieces, is a very basic way to alter this card kit. Okay, so we made 4 alternate cards in this video. And remember that this kit also comes with really pretty envelopes. It has that gold on them. So you would put all of these together, our gift card holder and our thank you card with the 4 envelopes. And now you have a nice set of projects, but you need somewhere to store these. Or if you're going to be giving these as a gift, then you're gonna want to place them in a nice gift package. So in my next video, I'm going to teach you how to use a 12 by 12 piece of cardstock to create a storage box that will coordinate with these 4 cards. Of course, that box is going to feature my favorite Hula Girl stamp in honor of my anniversary. And but again, you could change it up, and I think you're going to enjoy learning how to create the box template for this class. All right, well, that completes the first part of this video series. I'll see you back real soon for part number 2. Until then, aloha.